Time for our stock of the hour. American Airlines shares are down more than 1%, adding to a month-long retreat that's left the shares 7.5% below last month's high and hovering just above its 50-day moving average. Joining me, as always, to discuss is Bloomberg's Oliver Renick, stocks reporter here. I imagine this might have a little bit to do with what Qatar Airways announced this morning, that it's pulling out of a deal it proposed a few months back.
You know, it's interesting because this obviously happened this morning. Potential 10% ownership stake that Qatar Airways was going for. That would put it on the level of Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. But ultimately, that's actually not, I don't know. It's having an effect, I think, but ultimately, this is a CEO that said they didn't want anything to do with this. And at the end of the day, investors, though, might disagree because the stock is down. There's also, I think, a general sort of malaise right now within the airline industry on how to expand margins and how to figure out a price that people are going to pay to sit in those tiny seats as there's competition. There's a lot of competition from these government-funded airlines, international airlines like Qatar, Etihad.
Subsidies question.
Exactly.
Large, yeah.
So it's a pretty hard benchmark to go up against.
How's the fundamentals look? When you look at the fundamentals of American Airlines right now, what do you see?
If you were looking at the stock over the past year, it's been a pretty good performer. It's had its ups and downs over the bull market, but at least in the past 12 months, it's been pretty solid, very good return on equity. But the one thing I want to jump into, since the shares are down today, no hard feelings against American Airlines, but we're going to go with the direction of the stock. They're down, so let's look at some of the things that might be a concern here. First, I want to jump into the terminal. Love the function RVR, relative value ranking. Anything in the green right now is not necessarily a great thing because I'm on the debt page. So if you're in the green, that means you're in the top 10 percentile of your Bloomberg peers. You're looking at other airlines. We're looking at global situation. If you look at the green there, net debt, there's a lot of net debt, 94% in terms of percentile relative to its peers. Debt to capital, another high ratio. Outstanding debt here, this is part of the U.S. Airways sort of merger debt that's left over. But at the end of the day, if we switch it over real quick, I'm just going to look at DDIS. This is basically looking at the actual par amount in debt that sits with the company right now. There's a lot. If we jump in and look at this, I mean, this is quite a bit. 2020, you're looking at bond principal, muni bond principal, term loans outstanding. This is way above where its peers are. I think that leverage might come into a concern for analysts thinking about the very long term for American Airlines.
Let's do a quick beat here, just looking at transportation. This is a component part of that, of course.
Yes.
What do you see when you look at the Dow Transportation Index?
Okay, and here's where we get to the politics angle.
Yeah.
Because American Airlines, not necessarily a big Trump stock, not necessarily, a political stock, but here's the thing, it's within the transport index, and we've been watching that index roll over at the same time that in the industrial stocks within the S&P 500 have also been rolling over. I'm not talking about a big loss here, but we're looking at 7-8% down. There's the chart right there.
Yep.
That peak from last month. This is a concern because we heard all about fiscal spending, we heard all about infrastructure spending, but that has sort of fallen off the agenda, it seems like, for now from the White House, and I think potentially some of these companies might be losing a little bit of steam because of that.